Asher's glasses must have fallen off during the fight, because in a sudden and horrifying turn of events, Griffin was ferociously punching his own face. Everyone froze, staring in shock and disbelief. It was then that Violet realized Asher had somehow hypnotized him into doing it. But before things could get any crazier, Roman stepped in, putting himself between the two alphas. Even from where she stood, Violet could hear his commanding voice. "Let go of him, Asher. This has gotta stop." Asher's response was anything but calming. He bared his bloody teeth, a crazed grin stretching across his bruised and battered face. Violet felt a sick twist in her gut. She recognized that look. Asher didn't want this to end. He wanted things to escalate. Chaos was his thing. He thrived on it. The dude was straight up insane. Her attention shifted back to Griffin, who was desperately trying to grab his punching hand with his other hand, fighting to stop the self-inflicted beating. The struggle was clear in his eyes, his face twisted with the effort of holding back his strength. But no matter how hard he tried, the hand kept rising, inching closer and closer to his face again. Asher's power was mind control. He could mess with his opponent's brain, controlling their movements. He was making Griffin hurt himself, manipulating him like a puppet. But Griffin was a cardinal alpha, his will and strength unmatched by most. Violet couldn't help but wonder if he was strong enough to resist Asher's powers. That wasn't the only freaky thing happening. Violet's eyes widened as she saw Griffin's body start to swell. His muscles growing as he got bigger. It shouldn't have been possible, but nothing was impossible with the Cardinal Alphas. She wasn't the only one who noticed. Beside her, Dion sucked in a sharp breath. "Ooh, dang, this is bad." Violet's heart pounded. "What's happening?" Dion's voice was serious. "Griffin's main power is super strength, but it also lets him go berserk. When that happens, he's barely in control. It's not safe anymore." He glanced around nervously. "We gotta get out of here." Violet had no idea what berserk meant, but something told her she didn't want to stick around to find out. Dion wasn't the only one having that thought. Coach Jones, who had been so calm a minute ago, now looked panicked. He started yelling at the students, his voice booming with urgency. "Get out of here! Get inside, now!" The students must have gotten the message because everyone started running like crazy, werewolves included. Only a few hung back, keeping what they thought was a safe distance. None of the regular kids stayed behind, not when their lives were on the line. Violet stopped dead when a ferocious roar ripped through the air, shaking the ground beneath her feet. A shiver ran down her spine as birds flew out of the trees, scared by the obvious danger. Violet turned, and the sight in front of her made her gasp. She saw Griffin, or what was left of him. Griffin Hale was now a monstrous, towering figure, over 7 feet tall. Violet could only stare as her eyes swept over the impossibly huge muscles bulging across his body. His massive arms and legs looked like they could crush anything or anyone in their path. And the only thought in her mind was how easily he could rip her in half. His shirt hadn't survived the transformation, hanging in shreds, while his pants barely clung to him. Whatever beast Griffin had become radiated pure chaos and destruction. Yet Violet couldn't stop a brief flicker of awe. Who had created such a monster? That awe lasted only seconds. Griffin let out another deafening roar, like rolling thunder. And then he charged. His target was clear: Roman and Asher, who stood frozen, like deer caught in headlights. Violet wanted to yell a warning, to tell Asher to run, but Griffin was too fast. He charged like a raging bull, unstoppable and furious. Yet Asher stood his ground, that crazy glint in his eyes, like he had a plan to stop Griffin, despite being outmatched. Roman stepped in front of Asher, ready to fight, but his brain didn't last long. One powerful punch from Griffin sent Roman flying through the air, so far that Violet was sure he was dead. But to her shock, Roman changed midair. What landed on the ground and its feet wasn't a man. It was a massive, impossibly green yeti, almost as big as Griffin. The creature let out a ferocious roar of its own, a defiant signal that it was still alive. Violet was frozen, totally speechless. What in the world was she seeing? This wasn't a school. It was a crazy circus. Roman turning into a yeti had distracted the monster for a second. Griffin turned back to Asher, who was now unguarded. He raised his hand, but it stopped midway, shaking. Asher had completely hypnotized him again, using his power to take back control. For a second, it looked like Asher had won. But then, shocking everyone, Griffin fought off the hypnosis and punched Asher right in the face, sending him flying. Great idiot, Violet thought. The yeti roared again from across the field, grabbing Griffin's attention. They stared each other down, and Violet knew instantly this was going to be a major fight. Judging by the whispers and stares, everyone else knew it too. "Forget this, Violet! We gotta go now!" Dion's voice snapped her out of her trance. He grabbed her arm and yanked her forward. Violet didn't need to be told twice. She ran, her heart pounding. She wasn't sticking around to get caught in the crossfire. Just before she ducked inside, she saw Asher lift his head from where he'd landed on the ground. At least Lidger wasn't dead.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.